Hello, I'm Sula, host of Sula's Big Adventures, and in this video I'm going to be explaining how to clean the secondary and primary mirrors on a Newtonian reflector telescope. Most Newtonian telescopes should not need anything more than a blast of compressed air. This is just for cameras, but you can get larger ones to reach down to your mirror. And maybe a brush with a sterilized camel hair brush. But if you have an extremely thick film of grime or dust, then you may need to clean your mirrors. Only do this if the situation is dire, because if you scratch it, a couple of microscopic scratches on a reflector mirror are going to be far more noticeable than a few smotes of dust. So take extreme precaution and only do this if absolutely necessary. But here's how you do it. You need some tools. You'll need a Phillips head screwdriver, and you'll need some distilled water to rinse the mirror after you clean it, and some cotton swabs. So we're going to clean this 4.5 inch Orion Newtonian reflector. First, we're going to remove this primary mirror from the back of the telescope by removing these Phillips head screws. And then we're going to take it out. And after I get that removed, I'll show you what you do next. And the reason that this one qualifies for a reflector requiring a cleaning of the mirror is that, I don't know if you can see it, but it is quite dirty because my friend put it in the closet and she apparently thought this was the entire cap, which it's not. This had a centerpiece and she did not put the centerpiece on it, and it sat in the closet and collected dust that got onto the mirror, unfortunately. So this telescope qualifies as one needing to be cleaned. While I'm removing these screws, I should point out that if you take this mirror off the back of your telescope, you're going to have to collimate it after you wash it. So part 2 of this video will be collimating your Newtonian reflector telescope. Okay, I've almost got it out. Be right back. For this telescope, I only had to remove the tall screws that you loosen by hand, and not the ones that are the adjustments that use the Phillips head. But to get the primary mirror out, I have to remove the secondary mirror also, which does take a Phillips head screwdriver right here. And if you've ever wanted to see every wrinkle on your face, look into the primary mirror of your Newtonian telescope. Okay, I got the secondary mirror out, which is quite dirty. I had to remove or loosen one of the screws that holds the focuser in, and then another screw that held the secondary mirror in. And now, carefully take out the primary mirror and do not touch the top of it. So I don't know if you can see that. It's very dirty. Now we're going to give it a bath. So let me set down the tube and we'll go to the bathroom. Before we give them a bath, let's blow off as much dust as possible. That's not doing much. And don't breathe on it. Don't blow with your breath, because your breath has particles in it and it will leave a film. But this is not doing anything. This is pretty well stuck dust. So time for the bath. Okay, these mirrors are covered with aluminized coatings to make them reflective, and so we're going to run some water over it. It will not affect the aluminum coating. And that's just to get some more of the dust off. Now, time for the bath. We're going to fill the sink with warm water and very mild soap. This is just some Meyer's hand soap, and not a lot of it. And then we're going to put the mirrors into the warm water with the mild soap. Okay, I have my warm soapy water, just a little bit of soap. We're going to put the mirrors on the towel into the soapy water so it doesn't scratch, and just let them cover about ½ an inch with the soapy water. I have 2 sterilized cotton balls that I'm going to use. Now, with the mirror submerged in about ½ an inch of water, you're going to take your sterilized cotton swab and you're going to gently wipe in a straight line, never circular, always a straight line, gently across the mirrors. I've got the primary and the secondary, and you gently wipe straight, and then discard that one, and then use another ball. With the second cotton swab, you move in perpendicular lines across the mirror. Straight lines, never circular motions. Now we're going to drain this water, and we're going to rinse with distilled water. Rinse with distilled water only. Okay, I've got my distilled water here, and the reason you're rinsing with distilled water and not tap water is that tap water can leave stains. So, rinse the mirror with the distilled water. And after you've rinsed with distilled water and drained the sink, we're going to let the mirrors dry on a clean towel, edge on. Don't lay them flat. Okay, I'm going to leave the 2 mirrors there on the clean towel on edge until they dry, and when they dry, we'll put them back into the optical tube. And you should not have to clean it ever again, really, if you keep your dust cover on and don't leave it in the closet. Okay, the mirrors are dry. Now I have to put them back into the optical tube, and I'll do that, and then I'll show you how to collimate the secondary and the primary mirrors. Now, to collimate the Newtonian reflector, you will need one other thing, and that is a collimation cap or a Cheshire or a laser collimator that you can purchase. Orion's Dobsonians come with a collimation cap. You can make one by taking the cap from an old eyepiece and making a pinhole right in the center and put some kind of reflective item on the inside, piece of foil or a washer. I bought this Cheshire since my collimation cap is not here. And this is what I'm going to use. We will start with collimating the secondary mirror. Take any existing eyepiece out of your eyepiece holder, focuser, and put the Cheshire with this part facing down the tube. And then tighten, and then look through it. And what you're looking for first is whether the secondary mirror is centered. Don't pay attention to the primary for the moment. Just try to focus on the secondary mirror. This telescope just has 2 screws holding the secondary mirror in right here, but most telescopes have a spider vane here that holds the secondary mirror in, and it has screws in the spider vane, and that's what you turn to either move the secondary mirror forward or back to make it centered. This one just has 1 post holding it there, and then it does have screws here that I'm going to turn to make it centered. You do that first before centering the primary mirror. Even though this particular reflector does not have spider vanes holding the secondary mirror in place, it does have a Phillips head screw in the center and 3 2mm hex screws surrounding it, and you turn these 2mm hex screws to loosen it, no more than a turn each, and then you can turn the Phillips head screw with a Phillips head screwdriver to either move the secondary mirror forward or back. If you look through your collimation cap and just focusing on the secondary mirror, making sure that the secondary mirror is in the center. Don't worry about the primary until you get the secondary mirror centered. And it's only going to be out because I took it out. It comes from the factory centered, but because I took it apart to wash the mirrors, it might be off a little bit. So 2mm hex wrench, loosen these 3 sockets, and yours probably has spider vanes, and then take your Phillips head screwdriver, and while looking through your collimation cap or Cheshire cap, it'd be better if it were on a tripod, but putting it here to demonstrate. Then you turn it until it's centered. And then when the secondary mirror is centered, you're done with the secondary mirror. Now it's time to center the primary mirror. Before leaving the secondary mirror, make sure that these 2mm hex bolts are tightened so that the secondary mirror doesn't move after you've made any adjustments. And make sure that your spider vane, again this one doesn't have spider vanes, but yours probably does, are evenly centered. Now we'll go to the primary mirror. This telescope's very old. Orion now makes a center dot on the primary mirror so that you can line up the secondary mirror with the primary mirror. This one does not have a dot, but if you look through the Cheshire or collimation cap, you can see whether the reflection is centered. And to center it, you go to the back of the telescope, and it has tall screws and short screws. The tall ones have springs on them, and that is for adjusting the primary mirror. And then the short ones, and this one has Phillips head screws, are for locking it down. This one's so short that you can reach the screws while looking through the collimation cap and turn them until the reflection is centered. with the secondary mirror. Or if you have a dot, the collimation cap becomes a bullseye in the dot that they make on the primary mirror. And when it is, then you lock down the locking screws. I've never used a Cheshire before, I just use a collimation cap. What you do is you get it centered with the crosshairs in the Cheshire cap. And when it's centered, then tighten the locking screws in the back, and then you're all collimated. And if you take care of your telescope, you probably would not have to ever collimate it again unless it gets banged around somehow. And you should check it from time to time to make sure that it's collimated, because then you'll get the best focus on your Newtonian reflector telescope. And when you're done washing your mirror and collimating your primary and your secondary mirrors, be sure to put your dust cap on. My friend lost the center of this one, so I know it's tacky, but I'm going to have to put pieces of tape over it because you don't want dust getting on your mirror. So keep your dust cover on when you're not using it, and don't put it in a closet. So that's it. That's how you wash your mirror, and that's how you collimate a reflector telescope.